It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Kyle Benedict as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. As always, great to have you in studio with us today. We are going to get an update on the Prescott National Forest conditions, wildfire season, all that good stuff with Fire Staff Officer Pete Gordon. Welcome back.
My pleasure.
We were talking last year. We had you here 2 or 3 times last year, and I imagine we'll probably see you a couple more times between now and the end of summer just to continue to get updates from you. If not on the phone for a news story, to have you come in and sit down and get the point across, I guess, a little more clearly. Give you 20 minutes to talk about it instead of 30 seconds. So now, we were going to actually have you in, I think, last month, but you have been extremely busy, and this was the first date you could get down here to come and do the show. So what's been going on in your world in the Prescott National Forest so far this year?
Well, this time of year, when we get into spring coming out of winter, it's a busy time for us. We were going through a lot of training. A lot of our folks that are either involved as students or instructors. This is a training season typically for us in the springtime, and myself included. Attending refreshers or training and doing a little instructing is part of in my schedule, as well as some of our preparation meetings. We have been with my regional counterparts, the Coconino, the Kaibab, Tano, and even the New Mexico Forest. We've had meetings in the past month or so to prep for season, as well as onboarding our firefighters in the last 3 weeks. We became fairly busy. I spent the last week and a half doing readiness reviews for all of our units between the Verde Valley and as far south as Crown King.
What's a readiness review?
It's an annual meeting with our suppression resources. We work our way through every firefighter, and we visit with them as modules. We go through some formalities of checking some lists to make sure equipment and standards and training is all up to snuff and ready to go for the season. But the last few years, and especially this year, we spend a significant amount of time just having some dialogue about decision making, some of the complexities with wildland fire decisions, the complexities in the interface, and some of the risk management we have to do that may not even have to do with the fire, travel and access to the fire. So we spend a lot of time having one-on-one conversations with folks just to see where everybody's at, and at the end of it, we allow our folks to ask us some questions if they want to understand better how the process is working, or if there's something bothering them that we might be able to satisfy. So we go through a readiness review with every module this time of year.
Are we ready?
We are. I'm
okay, that's good news.
Yeah, I've been telling the folks that I'm proud of the Prescott resources, both on the Verde side and the Prescott side. Very tactically proficient. This is a group of consummate professionals. The folks in charge and the younger, newer firefighters coming up are very tactically proficient, eager to learn, and that's readily apparent as we go around doing these reviews. So it gives us time to talk about some of those other things that are a little bit of the nuances of the complexities that we deal with.
Sure. Now these crews, you've got crews over on the Prescott side of the mountain, on the Verde Valley side of the mountain.
Correct.
I would imagine they both have to swap and know how to do, I mean, it's totally 2 different terrains.
Yeah. We do. We frequently respond to fires wherever the need is, frankly, and that relationship, that ability to move across the Prescott National Forest, we also have that with the Coconino. We have a unique relationship right here in the Verde Valley, a joint managed fire program. There are a couple of fire engines in Sedona, Red Rock District, and a couple of engines on the Verde side, Camp Verde. They're all managed under one unit, kind of a unified approach to fire. It's not uncommon that if there's a large enough or an urgent enough need on the Prescott side, we'll mobilize folks from the Verde Valley that direction and vice versa.
Awesome. Very good. Yeah. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about Prescott National Forest conditions. We've had Brady Smith and Vic Morfin in from Coconino National Forest, and they gave us kind of a, no snowpack and little moisture, and I know that it's no different here on the Prescott National Forest, but let's hear it from your mouth, kind of how things are out there right now, because that is what you do.
Yeah, you bet. And it's something this time of year we spend a lot of time digging into the analysis, looking at these indices I shared with you last year, looking at the fuel moisture. So the conditions, we're dry. There's no doubt about it, and I would say a little drier than some of the country above the rim, from eastern Arizona all the way to Flagstaff. Certainly they, as they've told you, they're dry. but I'd say we're a little bit drier. The amount of precip we've had over the winter has trailed behind some of the rim country. December, well, more of January, February, March looked fairly good. We actually exceeded some of the annual averages for those months in precip. The problem is it was very little to no snow. I think January 1st was a significant storm on the Prescott side.
The New Year's storm was a big one. Yeah.
But since then, it's been fairly minimal and mostly rain. While it was good and has put us in a better spot than this time last year, we're still above average on some of these indices for mid to late April. Over the last 10 to 15 years, we've been a little bit moister as far as our fuel moistures. The dead fuels and the live fuels both are drier than average, but better than this time last year. So we're concerned. The grass is tall. That's the other problem that we're a little worried about. Last monsoon season was rather robust, and with that came a great grass crop. And you can see that traveling around Yavapai County and even going south into Maricopa County. There's a significant amount of grass that came up in August through October, and now it's there available to carry fire. So that's a big concern. So a combination of things. It's dry. The fuel is there. The light flashy fuels are there to move fires quickly. And then, of course, this time of year, as typical, we get these storms, most of which pass to the north and bring us the winds, the tail end of these lows.
Right.
But we're a little hopeful with the forecast for this weekend. It sounds like we might get a little precip across.
We have had a little something each week. We did a story this last weekend talking about how last year on April 18th, which was this past Saturday, we were in campfire restrictions.
We were.
And so we are doing a little bit better than last year. However, at the same time I say that, Kyle and I have been doing stories now for the last month and a half, I would say, where we've had each week you'll hear one or two or maybe 3 or 4 stories about fires that have broke out. And then we've been making a point to get in touch with Debbie Meneely and Brady Smith in the Coconino National Forest, Debbie Meneely with the Prescott National Forest, just on Mondays and say, okay, how many abandoned campfires did you find last weekend? And we're talking about that on Monday and Tuesday just to let folks know this is happening out there right now. And, you know, Prescott had 3 last weekend, Coconino National Forest had 2 last weekend, and then a couple the weekends prior. So it's out there.
It is.
And it's extremely dry. And we didn't have the snowpack, and last year you guys educated me so well on that. That snowpack is what gets those big logs and those big fuels soaked and just drenched with moisture, so they aren't those huge fire sources.
Correct, and what carries the heat and carries the allows gives us trouble, frankly, of producing the most energy, the most heat to propagate the fire and keep the firefighters at distance. And we're watching those. Some of the stuff I'm looking at here on the tablet, some of those values. We look at those what we call the 1,000-hour fuels. Those are the large logs that are laying on the forest floor. We're headed in a downward trend, as to be expected this year, but pretty low, a little bit below average, right around the 6 to 7%. So of total volume, only 6 to 7% moisture content inside those logs. And we'd love to see it to the teens and 20s, which would be a good winter into spring, but we haven't seen that in a lot of years.
It's kind of too late.
Yeah.
Isn't it too late for it?
Yeah.
It's just going to get drier. I mean, anything we get right now, it's going to pretty much get dried up pretty darn quick. Like you said, we've got something coming in this weekend, maybe a little bit of snow, a little bit of rain, but we've got those strong winds during the spring, so it just dries that right up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And as that gets warmer, that's just going to exacerbate any precipitation we might get is going to struggle to really do any good.
Right.
Unfortunately, what we need, and no surprise, is persistent rain, storm after storm, storms like we did have in January and February, where they would rain a couple of days, and we'd see anywhere from 1 inch to 2 inches across some of the rain gauges. We need that multiple days, or spread across several months, and well, we're just not seeing that.
Right. It's kind of hit and miss right now. And I noticed Flagstaff got rain this past weekend where my house did, 10 miles away. So it's kind of just that hit and miss thing right now. Need to take our first break. Prescott National Forest Fire Staff Officer Pete Gordon in studio today. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Right, mi cariño. So like I said, everything I learned about cooking, I learned from Grandma's empanadas. Shall we go again?
Yep.
Mix the beef with the onions with the peppers with the paprika with the garlic with the oregano with the cumin. Got it?
Got it.
Throw on the olives, stir, season, stir again, pour out the flour, roll out the dough, make a circle, drop in a fistful of filling, fold over, press down, and ta-da!
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.
Why is my son having trouble in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with my son over his homework.
Home, walk, restaurant. Need a review?
No. He's smart, but his mind wanders.
7 wonders of the world.
Why don't you understand me?
I do. I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
Welcome back to Countywide. Great to have you in studio with us today. Prescott National Forest Fire Staff Officer Pete Gordon with us today, giving us an update on the Prescott National Forest. Mentioned abandoned campfires just before the break hit, and we're keeping track of those each week just to keep that reminder out there. I told Kyle, I said we want to talk fire all we can between now and I guess the 4th of July when the monsoon typically hits, and then we can blame Mother Nature for wildfires. But up until that point, it looks more like it's going to be our fault. We have had a few things. I remember I did a story with you, I want to say maybe a month ago, where there was some shooting near the Dosey fire that broke out a couple years back. So we've got other things that we've got to watch out for as well when we're out there.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. We've actually had 2 fires in the last month, maybe a little bit more, maybe 5 weeks, associated with areas known for recreational shooting. You know, and while we can't necessarily pinpoint that it was tracer rounds or exploding targets, it certainly was in areas we know folks like to shoot for recreation purposes. While that's legal on the forest, and we could always restrict that under fire restrictions, which wouldn't be uncommon if we get dry enough like last year. But until then, it is legal to shoot on forest land, but we ask folks to just give consideration to how flammable the fuels are where you're shooting, no matter what time of year it is. And so maybe a good reminder for folks that like to do that exploding targets, while it may be legal to purchase in the state of Arizona, it's always illegal to use exploding targets on national forest land across the entire state, as is fireworks. Fireworks you can buy in the state of Arizona, but you cannot shoot fireworks.
Use them really anywhere.
Yeah, and I can speak at least to the Forest Service land. Year-round, always prohibitive to use incendiary or explosive devices on the forest.
I think people are surprised. I know I am. When the One Less Spark campaign that came out of California last year, we really started pushing the One Less Spark campaign. I think people are probably a little surprised that a dragging chain, a ricochet bullet, a spark off of that, well, maybe not a grinder and a welder. That's quite a bit of spark coming off of that. But some of these things that start wildfires in Arizona, it's got to be kind of a shock. Yeah. You know.
And they're very subtle. And so I'm glad you mentioned the One Less Spark campaign. I think a very successful campaign, and of course it'll remain this year. Just as a matter of fact, talked to one of my prevention officers yesterday about making sure we had materials and coming up with some ideas of where to leave those materials. But it does highlight those things that are a little subtle and maybe not the traditional things we think of, like campfires or arson or things like that. These
cigarette butts, things like that, yeah.
This is things like dragging a chain, or if you're just fixing a fence on your property that you have stock or animals, and you're fixing a fence and the fuels around it aren't trimmed back and it's dry and windy. We don't necessarily think about that. So, you know, the message in that is to just kind of think ahead, take that extra minute and think about the impacts of what you're about to do, and see if there's an alternative to doing it, or do you have all the safety stuff you need, like a fire extinguisher, a bucket of water, or a garden hose, or can you forego the activity till the conditions change?
Yeah, an extra bit of caution right now. Between now and the monsoon, I think is needed by everybody right now. What kind of resources are available for wildfire fighting in the Prescott National Forest this year?
Well, our typical mix of resources are available once again this year. We're fully staffed as of a couple weeks ago. We brought everybody back on board of our seasonal employees, and that's for the Prescott National Forest itself, that resources that we quote unquote own. We have 5 fire engines. across the forest, 2 of which here in the Verde Valley. We have our hotshot crew, which is a national resource, but hosting them here, if they're here, we always get to use them right away. And they were busy, as a matter of fact, with one of these fires on Sunday.
Oh, really?
This last week, yeah, we ended up using our hotshot crew.
Where?
This was the one off of Contreras Road in Iron Springs, just off the west edge of the Dosey fire, another area known for shooting. We had about a little over an acre fire that we took care of on Sunday and mopped up and took care of, finalized it on Monday.
What was the cause?
Well, undetermined, but again, associated with shootings. That's why I took the advantage here a few minutes ago to just remind folks that if you're going to go out in the woods shooting, to refrain from using incendiary devices or tracer rounds, and just watch what you're doing. If you're smoking or having a warming fire, take care of putting out that fire.
Sure. Okay, so we got the hotshot crew.
We got the hotshot crew. We have our Helitac crew is on board and just about done with their training, and here in about a week we'll have the helicopter on board, go through its readiness review.
That's going to be some training too, right?
Yeah, quite a bit of training. They all go through about anywhere from 40 to 80 hours worth of training annually when these crews come on.
Well, some of these folks are kind of out of it for months. Is that right?
Yeah, we have several.
Because you said seasonal employees, so some of them are, you know, they're here for a season and then they're gone for a while. So that training is, it's important.
Yep. It's very important. You know, we want folks ready to roll, and it's worth our investment to get them refreshed and bring them new material every year and get them ready to go and get whatever they need so that they're ready to go.
Where do we keep the helicopters?
The helicopter is stationed, we have a fire center, Forest Service building on the sort of the east side of the runway at Prescott Airport. It also is, this building, by the way, houses our dispatch center, our hotshot crew, the Helitac crew, and an air tanker base, and a national cache. So it's a multi-purpose facility that serves not only the Prescott National Forest, but Arizona, the Southwest is served out of this building with the cache and the tanker base.
Wow, okay, so they can go anywhere. Anywhere in the Southwest.
Yeah, and the tankers, of course, as a national resource, they'll mobilize across the country, but the fact that we have a tanker base here makes the turnaround times for any fires, you know, even within 100 miles of Prescott, those fires are going to be served well, whether it's Flagstaff, Payson, the Colorado River corridor. Prescott is well positioned, and if I may, real quick, I'll let you know, at the tanker base itself, we're about to embark on a major improvement project at the tanker base we're real proud of. It took a few years. We competed for some national funds within the Forest Service to do some capital improvement. We were awarded those funds, and simultaneously, the city of Prescott and the Prescott Airport approached us. They were awarded some FAA grant money to do some improvements. We saw the opportunity and took it. We're going to partner and put those resources together to over $2 million worth of improvements. We're going to add a third pit to fill tankers. We have 2 currently. And we're going to retrofit the layout to accommodate what we call the new generation air tankers. As folks may be aware, the Forest Service has been moving towards the jetted fleet, like the B&E 146s, the MD 87s, and recently we acquired some C-130s from the Coast Guard. So we thought, you know, not only should we improve our tanker base, we should probably accommodate the next generation of equipment we're going to see. So we're really proud of that. And right at the end of fire season, we should see, they're in the middle of the contract awarding process. I think at this point, folks are still bidding and competing to do the work, but the funds are together, the specs have been written, the design has been done. And we hope by July to August in there somewhere, we'll be fixing things. Once fire season, we're certainly going to wait till we have our monsoons.
Sure.
But, so we're excited about that. That'll allow us to serve even greater capacity there.
Excellent. Another break. Prescott National Forest Fire Staff Officer Pete Gordon in studio today. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Of all the things you've done with your bike, donating it to Goodwill may be the most incredible of all. Your donations help fund job placement and training for people in your community, which means your stuff can be more powerful than you think. Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
So don't accept defeat. Now you can get covered and still buy me treats.
You take care of your pets. Now it's their turn to take care of you. Visit getcoveredamerica.org to learn about your health insurance options.
Welcome back to Countywide. We've got just a couple minutes left in the program. Pete Gordon with the Prescott National Forest in studio today. Real quick, do we have extra patrols right now going around the forest? I know Coconino National Forest has been adding some extra patrols, and they're finding garbage and stuff piled up in the forest already. And some of these common sense things I think that we all should know by now. It happens every year. We see it every year. You know, trash piled up, get these little fires, abandoned campfires. But do we have added patrols in the Prescott National Forest?
We haven't added any just yet. But as a matter of fact, yesterday started putting plans together. We're going to submit for severity funds, those extra funds we can get when we're as dry as we are, here in about 2 weeks. We put in now, and we'll see those funds in about 2 weeks. And our first order of business, as we discussed with our fire managers across the forest, is let's get some extra patrols. Very effective for us last year. And we just know it to be. Having that presence and folks that can educate and inform in the woods does us a lot of good.
Mm-hmm.
So
more eyes are necessary.
Yeah. So we'll probably have a couple additional patrols here for mid-May, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start boosting that into late May and into June.
Okay, all right. Lookout towers, we talked to Coconino National Forest. They've got a couple of them manned now, but all of them will be manned by the 3rd. I think they have 9, they said. Mm-hmm. So by the 3rd of May, they'll have them all manned. How about Prescott National Forest?
We have 4 lookout towers across the forest, including up here on Mingus Mountain behind us. All are staffed. About 2 weeks now, we've been fully staffed in our lookout towers.
Okay. We dry out probably faster than further north, correct?
Yeah, and it's just a matter of terrain, weather influence. But yes, with the lower elevations and a little bit warmer temperatures, it's just sort of a matter of fact that we will dry out quicker or remain dry. And oftentimes we'll see these lows that come down if they bring moisture, as you can see just by watching the weather. A lot of it might sweep the northern part of the state, and you know, there's a pretty significant cutoff at the Mogollon Rim, roughly.
What triggers me is I noticed that you'll see a wildfire in southern Arizona like we have right now. Mount Lemon's got one burning on it. Don't know too many details about that, though. It's been kind of odd getting information on that. But there's that fire there, so that kind of triggers me. Okay, here we go. So, you know, slowly but surely, it works its way up the state and we start drying out. Pete Gordon, as always, great to have you in studio.
My pleasure.
Come back before the end of May?
You bet.
Another update?
You betcha.
He's on the spot now. He has to do it. All right, I'm Paul David. That's today's Countywide, and we will talk to you again next time.